Hey, welcome back to the Misadventures of Mr. Fish. I'm Mr. Fish. Hey. It's been a minute, and we'll probably talk about that later. But I wanted to actually make this video just as a way of showing one of my most recent projects. So let's take a look at it. So for the month of September, I found myself wanting to enter two different competitions: Immersive Terrain's Immersed in Terrain Group's Army Board Challenge for a display, as well as the 40K Orc Community's Scrap Timber Challenge, where the challenge was to build and paint something in regards to a rocket, whether it be a rocket boy or a big explosive rocket or whatever. So I decided to take it a little bit more insane and started doing the mixture of the two. I didn't know if I was actually going to do a video for this or not, so be prepared, there's a lot of pictures ahead. So I was gifted this picture frame that had this little foam board in there, and it was about 22 by 32 inches, so perfect for a battle board. After getting everything prepped, the first thing I did was lay down some cork just so I could have some variety on the base, and then I attached what was going to then be the Launchpad. You've seen it in a previous video, like an old Jurassic Park toy and whatnot. And then a little bit of granny grading to add some metallics later. Here in the next step, you can actually see where I took some old tubing that I had. Actually, it's the framework for a ladder ball set that was broken, to add some diversity to the ground, and I started building the rocket itself, which is actually just 2 food containers for toddler snacks and one of those hornet nest protector things with a spray bottle on top. Add some wheels from an old broken toy and looks like a perfect rocket. Next, I found this dry branch on my deck and used it as a foundation for the scaffolding that I'd be building using these bamboo skewers. And then from there, took popsicle sticks of the thin kind and the thick kind, started snipping them down, breaking them by hand, things like that, to start building steps and accentuating that scaffolding. From there, I decided it wasn't enough and had to do it on the other side as well. And then we started greebling things, taking all sorts of the random junk that I've collected, tires, doors, broken handles, cardstock, plasticard, everything, and we started going around and accentuating all the details, taking and making things like corrugated metal eventually, and even putting things on the rocket like rivets and whatnot. Take and put a little thing from a toy soldiers in there. Basically making areas that I could set minis down so it could also be a play area as well as an army display board. Then from there, like I said, just started going all wild with the rocket, used some foil tape for some detailing, as well as built a gun out of Nerf pieces. Then here you can see where I took some extra paneling, just kind of went everywhere. Like I said, this was intended to be something that I could use as a kill team board or put next to some of the other fold out boards that you already get from GW to take and make it where you could play it. Here you can see where I didn't even care. I got real messy with that hot glue, and now it's primed. Priming always makes everything look better. Holy cow. But unfortunately, while I was doing this, I ran out of my gray rattle can. So you can see where I missed a few details here, which I would eventually go back with what I thought would be a black can, but unfortunately was oiled bronze. It actually added some cool details later in the thing, as well as it added on to the frame that I put on it. And that actually led to more detail work on the rocket. Like I said, cut up some sprues to make rivets. These pictures are sideways just so I could kind of show you how big it all was instead of having to zoom in on it. And then finally, the rocket is primed. You can see here now with that bit of brown on the bottom is actually that oiled bronze, and it added some great color to the texture on the bottom. You can see here too where it's spackled, which is a step I forgot to cover, but basically I just took filler and filled in all the gaps in between the cork. Made this really great texture in there and whatnot. Real simple. Most of us know how to do that stuff, so no worries. Then after that came the paint. Had to go with the big red Rokkit. Turned around, added some stone colors to the piece in the center. Went in and started adding rust effects to everything, metals, using a combination of gunmetal and silver to get those metallic tones that I like. Decided to go all out. Since my army itself is purple, I decided to add a lot of very subtle tones in this just because I didn't want it to be too overwhelming. But, man, does this just scream orcs. I am loving it. I love the browns that I used. Absolutely, I could have carved more details into the wood to try and get that, more natural texture. But look at the texture on those pipes. Holy cow. The secret there, just put spackle on it. Real thin coats adds lots of texture onto everything. And then from there, painted, like I said, the Rokkit red with the different tones. Wasn't sure if I was going to add a lot of details to it from there, but I did like the way that it was turning out. So I just kind of kept going with it. And because I left the Rokkit modular, it let me do some fun things like what I'm showing you here. After that, I took and flocked everything. Here you can actually see a Def Dread for size comparison on there. And like Immersive Terrain has always said, 3 different shades of flock always make it pop. So here you can see where I have like some darker tones around the different things. You can see where I started to add some foliage into there to kind of mix things up. Took and with these pictures, I had the Rokkit on there and then took them off just so that way you could see how modular it was, like making little gateways with it. Also showing you how big this thing is, because like I said, this is a kill team board size project, so it's a hefty one. And like I said, I just absolutely love the fact that I could do that. And now here you can see where I started to add the orcs onto it. Now, because of all the colors and trying to get this picture was actually taken really late at night. And I did not have proper lighting on it with my lamps and whatnot, and it just blurred out my white filter onto my phone. And so these are a little bit potato pictures, but I can always I take more. So and that's what I did later. So from here you just kind of see all the different angles and just how awesome it is fitting all those guys on there. And then from there, took some pictures outside. Here you can see the Def Dread just kind of walking around the different areas. The main reason I did this little photo shoot, other than just showing the details in comparison to a bigger model like that, was because shortly after this, I was going to use some water effects in those cracks to make it look kind of like sludgy mud. And that, you will find out, did not work so well, because although I thought I did a great job sealing everything when I flocked it all, apparently I did not seal everything that I could. Ooh, there's a bad picture. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, but then you can see all the different things. You can also see some of the updates for my orcs and my kill team. You can see some of the snaggle boys I still need to paint. I love the way that the power box turned out there. And holy cow, this is like 120 models that just fit, and you can just see all the extra space that I have on there. Loved putting things in sneaky places. You can see all the different things for our kill teams. The grots that are sneaking out of the tubes, like they're building their own little hive city underneath the platform. And it makes it so much more fun to do stuff like that. More pictures of Snaggle Boys, Zogrod by a ladder, just so you can kind of see how big he is. And actually, I could cluster all these guys up and probably fit another 20, 30, 50, 100 models on here, depending on what size they were. A Grot Revolution, probably put 1,000 minis onto this. And so, like I said, I just wanted to take and do a few different pieces to kind of see what it was going on. And I love all the little details, the little flocking, the rust, the metallics, the wood tones I love, even if they're not 100% natural. I mean, alien worlds, come on, guys. And then I think here is where it starts to have some of those water effects in there. It may not be. Actually, looking here, it looks like this might still be pre. pre-pour, but getting all those little details, adding the things, the extra areas where like oil was leaking because like a bucket got dumped. One of the things that was actually kind of fun is that when I was using some of my homemade washes on this, I started from the top and worked my way down, so that way they would naturally drip, and I could find those areas to accentuate some of those rust effects or wet effects. Man, do I just love the way the piping came out on this though, because literally these look so perfect to me. I don't even care how the wood turned out because of how cool those turned out. So, like I said, it's just kind of a little montage here just to show where we could have fun with the details, you know, adding little rocks and blurps inside the pipes and stuff like that, you know, little things like the grots are hiding. And so, and fun little details like plants growing and stuff like that. In this next little bit, we're going to actually show you the rocket itself. Just because it is a Rokkit challenge. Like I said, not only was this an army display board, but this was actually something that I intended to have in the 40k Orc community challenge as well, as a Rokkit. Now, because I personally think that there's a lot of painters out there, there's a lot of kit bashers out there that are amazing with miniatures, that's why I had to go something extreme like this, because there was no way that my skill set could trump, you know, some of the other people that just are incredible, you know, like Erox and Sydney over in Drunken Orc and whatnot. They're just phenomenal painters. So now that I had all the details together, I went out and decided to try and get some more sunlight pictures in there. And I believe this is after the pour. You can kind of see the slight reflections in those areas, those cracks, where it kind of looks sludgy, which is perfect because that's exactly what I wanted. Oh yeah, there it is. And you can just see where like it looks like the ground itself is literally ripping open from the things that are leaking and whatnot. Took and added little grass tufts so that it'd match my bases on all of my orcs. So that way when they sit down, they actually look like they're home. And yes, just perfect. This was definitely one of the funnest projects I've ever worked on. And actually, man, it just rocks my socks so much.
Oi, if you like my mate Mr. Fish's content, give him a like. And if you don't want to miss future content, go ahead and subscribe. Now hurry up, you git. Oh, and thank you very much.
So, we took the project outside real quick, and the reason why I did that is because with a lot of the update photos that I did on Instagram and on Facebook under Mr. Fish, one of the things that kind of popped up a lot when I started talking about it and the scope of things was it's a pretty large project. Even with seeing all the different pictures and whatnot, it doesn't really give you the full scope of just how big of a project this was. So I'm out on the deck again where I took a lot of those pictures, and I figure just throw a couple little minis on there and whatnot, and we can kind of take a little video tour and see what I did. Yeah, I'm pretty excited, guys. So before we get too far into this video, what I wanted to do was kind of show you guys the scale of it, because that, like I said, was one of the biggest shocks that a lot of people had. So I got out Mutaspore, my Kill Team 2018 leader, who is on a 25 mil base. Got out Erdigit, my Pain Boy from the 40k Orc Community Challenge. And I got out my war boss, Lobork, the last Zarnian orc, based off of Lobo, the main man from DC Comics, and literally one of my all-time favorite characters. It's from Hardcore Miniatures. I'll actually link that below if you guys want to take a look at that as well. Guy does really good sculpts. I also included this sneaky get back here, right? Yeah, I'm talking about you. On his little 60 mil there. So, that'll kind of give you an idea of exactly what we're working with here. Kind of here, because it is, like I said, a lot bigger than people think it is. Actually, you can even move these guys around a little bit while we're here. So that way we can kind of see just how big this truly is. So, like I said, we started here, with the foundation. And then from there, we added onto this branch, which then let us build all this scaffolding. And when we hid the pipes, we also got all this extra little bits of terrain, hidden objects and stuff like that, just to kind of make it a little bit more fun. This, I love, my little power station conduit thing. It's actually 2 handles from a broken kid's toy, same toy that I took the wheels from, and like a G.I. Joe motor turned on its head, some broken Nerf bits, which is really cool. Oh yeah, and you can kind of see that oiled bronze. I used it on this frame. So I actually put the picture frame, I don't know if you noticed it in the pictures, but I took the frame and put it back on to give it a sturdier foundation, so I wouldn't have to worry about warping or anything like that. It turned out phenomenal like that. You can see here where some of those water effects did a lot better. Unfortunately, there's a few spots, like I said, that didn't seal so well, and so it kind of leaked in. But upside, that just means a stronger foundation, right? Oh, and here, it's a little sneaky patch. You can actually fit quite a few little guys in there. Let me know if you saw a Snickrod earlier hiding in there. And then, you know, obviously I had to build the first ladder. And it's kind of like this little pocket area that leads up and over. And it's just pretty nutso. Hopefully the audio is turning out alright on this as well. Let me know in the comments down below if this is some potato recording. I've got my little grot tunnel. And I love just the little tufts because it does give you that scale. Let me grab my spore. So unfortunately, unless you play on the base edge, the 25 mil is the biggest that'll actually fit in these little areas, and he's a little bit bigger because I made him showy, you know. So, but if you play it on there, you can actually fit the 32s on the edge as well. I don't think you can fit the full 40s on there, but let's take a look. Yeah, 40's too big for the edge, but I mean, they basically sit everywhere else. There's my captain for my flash skids in the kill team. And yeah, and then from there, like I said, we just built the scaffolding up, kind of orky. I debated on putting like chains and stuff like that on it, or wires, ropes. But it actually turned out kind of cool the way it did. And then some like boxes. I'm pretty sure they were like from Nerf. Cut the little logos off, based them and stuff, and it came out perfect. Part of my shaky camera. Oh, little thing that actually was off scale because this was originally a Playmobil toy thing, and so I took and added that little bit onto it to hide that little footprint. And then there's also the stairs that come up there onto this main floor, which then, like I said, I added this second bit just to kind of expand it because I was worried that there wouldn't be enough space for all 120 of my orcs that I currently have. You know, just went for it. And then there was a mechanism that actually moved a little device that was originally there in that slant, and then I kind of like left it there because it made it look like this originally, like moved back and forth to like plow things out of the way, but then because of fortification, it just stuck like that now. You know, orcs don't care. And that mechanism is what was attached to this foot thing, and that is actually the hidden work of this little platform area. Man, I just absolutely love it. I'll keep bumping the table, so with that and the shaky camera, probably giving you guys all seizures, so sorry about that. And then we got this extra ladder here, tall ladder. Comes up to this top area that's also playable. These little buckets and stuff like that, little gas cans, and then I just love the extra rust effect on there. And then, oh, pardon me, because the scale of it is so big. So is the Rokkit. And like I said, to start off is 2 baby food canisters. Little thrusters I had on the bottom of it originally. I was going to keep them, but the little one saw them and was like, "Ooh, is this a fruit snack?" and ripped them off. So we just went with it. I like the little canister look of it, kind of like that it's not necessarily exploding, like, you know, letting out the energy, but it's just sucking in turbine energy and then just absorbing it all. So it's like cracking the canisters. And then, yeah, just had fun with it. Use that aluminum tape, foil tape, whatever it's called, to kind of build those little mark things here, like rust it out, weather it, hit it with metallics. I'm from the US, obviously, so this little plug-in adapter just cracks me up because it just adds that extra power to it. And then some of the few colors that I put on it besides red, you know, power for orcs. There's actually a couple of those hidden little glyphs all over it. So that's pretty nutso. And then an area where I could set an orc. Just kind of blast it out. Death Dread, cannon. A couple glyphs from shoulder pads from my kill cans. Which, I don't know if I've ever actually done a showcase for where my WA is right now. So that's something we're going to have to definitely do here soon too. So, yeah, it's a big one. And these are those wheels I was talking about. And it just turned out so awesome. And then, because it's modular, said you can do stupid stuff with it. Like, set it down. And they have an even bigger play area. You can find flat areas to set it down. And it's big enough. It's like a gate now. So, yeah, man, I love that. I love the lead oiled bronze or oiled brass. That it's framed now. So cool. But yeah, so I appreciate you guys. This has been a hell of a project, and if it wasn't for amazing groups like the 40K Orc community, if it wasn't for groups that are both on Facebook and Instagram and Discord, Immersive Terrain, Jay, I love you, man. You have basically been a huge inspiration for 99% of all of my terrain that I've made. Originally found him doing Gaslands, which is my jam, and man, I tell you what, he evolved from his original channel, Encounter Wargaming, around the pandemic time. I know it's hard to keep up, you know, with buddies and having that kind of fun content and whatnot, so he took to his second favorite part of the hobby, making terrain. First part, obviously, being playing games. He might like terrain better, but that's not my place. I also like terrain better. But, that being said, this is dope, and I appreciate you guys actually taking the time to look at it. Well, that's been the tour of the most recent shenanigans that we've been doing here on the Misadventures of Mr. Fish. So I just want to take a minute to thank you so much for stopping by. It's been a blast getting to show off such a fun project, and the best part of it is I managed to actually win both of those competitions I was talking about. So with the Immersive Terrain, Immersed in Terrain Army Board Challenge, he actually is sending out a battle mat, so I'm excited for that unboxing later. And we are for the 40K Orc Community Challenge. I now have the 40K Epic Narrators respect. That's something hard to get. He's a salty git. I love him for it. So, yeah. But I do appreciate you guys sticking around and coming and watching all the shenanigans here, because it's definitely been a while. I've been going through it. The whole world's been going through it. I might talk about it a little bit more in depth in a later video, but I at least wanted to, just come in, have some fun with you guys, and show off how much fun I had doing this project. Managed to get it done in just 17 days. I started it late because, like I said, I was beating myself up. Still got a pretty good backlog of minis I need to get painted, and I haven't really had the urge. But I've been talking to a few other people in the community, and they really gave me the feel goods, the warm fuzziness and stuff. And so I'm back. I'm not sure exactly how regular the content's going to be, but I'm definitely going to try my best to do stuff as often as I can. I'm excited to share the adventure with painting up the Beast Naga boys and their crazy squigs that I'm trying to play with. Yeah, so I'm excited. I do appreciate you stopping by. Much love, and see you next time for more Misadventures of Mr. Fish. Have a great one.
Blah 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 blah.